Hey!
This is JJ and Alex.
I made a name for myself, I told you I won't be denied.
As you wrap up your day, it's time to get your fix of the teams you live for and the sports you love. This is JJ and Alex, presented by G2G Bars on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Okay, everybody, welcome on in. Happy Tuesday to you. Thanks for being with us right here, 97.5 the KSL Sports Zone. Alex, Kirry, Jeremiah, Jensen. JJ, what's up, man? Everything good?
Everything's great.
Oh, boy.
Yeah.
Are you screaming?
Did I overdo it there?
Yeah,
Did I overcompensate?
Alex didn't know he believed it.
You see the pain in my eyes?
I feel great. Back to you.
You know that meme on the internet with that guy with the beard? The old guy where he's smiling, but he's got tears in his eyes?
Oh, yeah. No.
That's basically me every day of my life. Everything's great.
No, it's going to be awesome.
Everything's looking
it's
good.
doing awesome.
Just happy to be here.
Back to you.
No problems in my
Come
life.
on.
No, it's great.
We got a lot.
Beautiful sunny day. We live in Utah. Beautiful place. A lot of things to be excited about.
You did it.
I'm not an Edmonton Oilers fan, so I feel even better.
Oh, man. Talk about getting into a fan base's head. Talk about getting into a team's head. 6-1, was that the final? Is that what the final ended up being?
Best boxing match I've seen in years.
85 penalty minutes dished out to the Edmonton Oilers last night.
Wasn't it 17 minors?
The most
Jeez.
in a playoff series since 1986. And I was like, what was going on in 1986? I was like,
Can you name who was in the Stanley Cup Finals in 1986?
I assume it was also the Edmonton Oilers. Is that a bad guess?
That's a great guess.
Like, if I'm going to say 1986, I'm going to say it was Edmonton. This is like, because Gretzky.
Here's the funny thing. It wasn't.
It wasn't, because 88 they won, right?
They won a lot.
Yeah. But who was it in 86?
The Calgary Flames.
Oh, okay.
Greg Wrubell, listening right now, is probably yelling at his radio.
He's like, it's the Calgary Flames. It's my Flames. That's probably the last time they won it. No, 93 was that was the Flames, right? Or the last team to win it, or was that Toronto? No, Toronto.
The last team to win it was the Montreal Canadiens with Patrick Waugh in goal in 1993. The Oilers won it in 1990. That's their last cup.
Oh, bummer. So yeah, I don't know who it was, but it was the most penalty minutes for like in the last 40 years in a playoff game. So it was a mess. But from the standpoint of, and I forget too that they throw the rats on the ice.
Wait. Correction.
Did they win?
The Canadiens beat the Flames in 86.
Look at that, an all-Canadian
The Flames
final.
won it in 89.
All right. I love it.
Got to make sure I'm giving correct info here because we're new to hockey, so I got to make it sound like I know what I'm doing.
That's good.
And I did not know what I was doing there. That was in between Oilers championships in 85 and 87.
Well,
so you're close.
Last night when the rats hit the ice. When the fake rats hit the ice and everybody was going crazy and Florida was up 6-1, you couldn't help but think to yourself, oh, they got in their heads. They did it. Like Edmonton had kept their cool. They had kept everything together and they couldn't do it any longer. So congrats to Florida on a 6-1 win. By the way, you want to know a stat? If you win game three in the Stanley Cup final, I would assume that means to go to 2-1.
Yeah.
But if you win game three, the last 30 teams to go to game three up 2-1 after that win in game three are 24-6.
So the odds are pretty good for Florida.
So meaning that 24 of those 30 won the Stanley Cup.
And if you watched the game last night, didn't it feel like the cup was won last night?
Well,
I just can't see the Oilers bouncing back from whatever that disaster was.
Well, I mean, it's the same team that was down 3-0, and we said they're not going to bounce back.
It was just the buffoonery.
They were out of sorts. They could not get their crap together. It was awesome. I love it.
It really was.
I mean, you watch all these guys. Like they have the two best players on the ice.
Yes.
And when Draisaitl and McDavid, and by the way, this is when McDavid gets exposed too, because he's kind of a pansy. Right? He does not have guts when it comes to like the physical part of it. And that's one of his big knocks. Like I just don't think he's I think people go, look, you have a very specific thing you do, and it's not being tough. Being tough is not one of those things. So I don't know. We'll see how this one shapes up. I would love for it to get to get close again, but we'll see.
Well, and it was interesting. They showed a stat last night, or they put a graphic up, and I didn't know this. And again, we're new to hockey, but apparently the 2014 NHL draft was incredible. It's like the 2003 draft for the NBA. There were 4 players on the ice last night that were taken in the top 4
in the 14
in that 2014 draft. Aaron Ekblad, who was taken by the Panthers first overall. Sam Reinhart was taken by the Sabres. He ended up getting traded to the Panthers. Leon Draisaitl was the 3rd pick. Sam Bennett was the 4th pick.
I was going to say, I don't think so. Where was McDavid taken, and what year was he taken? He was number 1 overall, but what year was it? Sam Bennett, by the way, that guy owned the ice last night.
Yeah, he's great.
So. And I think he's lined up to win the Conn Smythe, right? That's the.
He was in 2015, so Connor McDavid was the next year.
That's a pretty good set of drafts.
Another
to go
player,
14, Draisaitl 15.
Isn't that crazy,
man?
And that's how they built their championship. Another player that was taken in that draft was William Nylander of the Leafs, who's one of the top goal scorers in the league. So, yeah, you build your team in the draft, and you see what happens. And the Panthers, they drafted one of those guys, but they were able to acquire the other 2.
I'm gonna steal something from Paul Rudd when he was eating those hot chicken wings. Look at us. Who'd have thought?
Look at us, hockey guys.
Look at us. Who'd have thought? Not me. Not me. Talking about
hockey guys here. Hey, we're in our toques.
The effects of the 2014 draft class on this year's Stanley Cup. Ready, go. That was my sports thesis.
We just broke it down for you.
Yeah, there you go. All right. Our program brought to you by G2G Bars. All natural ingredients and no preservatives make the G2G Bar the perfect protein bar. Let's kick off the hour as we always do. Let's get back to normal here. I say normal. When we talk about hockey normally. But let's get to the cut. Let's get to some college football talk here. Then I'll feel a little bit more normal. Let's do it.
It's time for the biggest story of the day. This is what made the cut with JJ and Alex on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
By the way, really fun day for us here coming up at the bottom of the hour. Pro golfer and former BYU golfer and currently at Oakmont prepping for round 1 of the U.S. Open on Thursday. So he's getting his practice rounds in. He's going to sneak in a phone call with us. It's Zac Blair going to join us on the program coming up at the bottom of the hour. So that'll be a lot of fun. It's that time of the year for us to be able to bring another U.S. Open, bring another major. So we'll get Bob Casper on the horn as well. He and BT do an awesome job breaking down everything for us out at those majors. And so we'll get you lined up with that one out from Pennsylvania. Zac Blair is going to join us in just a little while. Our program brought to you by Trajan Wealth this time of the hour. Your local trusted financial fiduciaries. All you have to do is go visit their website, TrajanWealth.com. All right. I saw this and I thought, this is interesting. Who benefits the most from the college football expansion to 16 teams? Before you say the TV executives.
That's a given. We know that.
Before you say the TV executives, I'm speaking strictly to the actual teams that are at play here. I don't think we're giving it. We spend so much time bickering about how many teams that the SEC is going to get in, the Big Ten is going to get in, all those things, that we don't realize that talking about all these things and what it's going to look like after 2026, because this year is going to be the last time for 12, right?
Correct. Well, not official. They haven't made that official.
Yeah, but we're all kind of
it can be redone in 26. Correct.
The current deal is the current 12-team model is that correct. Expires at the end of this year or after the 2025 correct. Season. So I think we all sort of see the writing on the wall. It's either going to be 14 or 16. I don't know why it wouldn't be 16. No one's talking about 14 anymore, by the way.
Well, and we'll get to why.
So
it's pretty obvious.
When I did this deep dive on how, if we would have gone to, let's look back at I like looking back and saying, okay, if we were to employ that model back in that year, what would that look like? There are moments, because I do think that people need to give the proper respect to this whole process, which is adding 4 teams to the 12-team playoff is going to create some pretty awesome stuff. I think year to year, it's going to be disappointing because you're going to have some years that you're going to see teams, overrepresentation from the SEC. It's going to happen. And when I say overrepresentation, based off of whatever the rules are going to be to get in, you're going to see them get the nod more often than not. Whether it's computers picking or humans, I think you're still going to see a benefit toward those bigger conferences, right?
There's no question about that.
But interestingly enough, and because you're going to have because now you have 2 lost teams that get into the playoff. And by the way, this is last year was the first year that we had a 2 lost team in the playoff. since LSU in like 2007 or something like that.
Right. Now you're even going to see 3-loss teams.
Right. And so in the CFP era, there hasn't been a 2-loss team in the playoff. 2007, of course, was that was the Nick Saban LSU Tigers, right? Or was that Les Miles? No, Les Miles was.
Yeah, Saban was a long time ago. Had to have been Les Miles.
Yeah, so Saban I think was 05, and then
Which year? I can tell you if you say which year it was. Sorry, which year was it?
2005 was who?
That was Les Miles.
And then 2007. When was Nick Saban? When did Nick Saban win a championship with LSU? I'm trying to think. Well, I'm now.
2003.
03. So it was 03 and 05.
Yes, correct.
Okay. I digress. What I'm saying here is the 2-loss team is already. We already saw Arizona State get in as a 2-loss team to the playoff, and obviously there were other teams that were 2-loss teams. They got into the playoff. The thing is now is with this setup and the way things are going to be going, you're going to see 3 and even 4-loss teams based off of the model that they're currently looking at.
By the way, Clemson was a 3-loss team last year in the playoff.
Yeah, see, this is what I'm saying. You're going to get a 3-loss team. You would have actually, the playoff would have featured if you were to go back a few years, go back to 2016, you would have had a 4-loss team in the college football playoff if it were a 16-team model of 5+11. Auburn in 2016. Think about how laughable this next mention is going to be. Stanford in 2017, a 4-loss team getting in, because that means they were the what? Does that mean they were the Pac-12 champs?
I think they were the Pac-12 champ that year.
And then Texas in 2018, 4-loss, the highest-ranked teams to crack the 16-team playoff. That's what you would have seen. Is that bad for the game, JJ, to have 4-loss teams? A 2017 Stanford team, a 2018 Texas team, a 2016 Auburn team, none of which are you write home about. No one remembers them. The annals of history do not have any mention about who those teams are or were or why they mattered.
That Stanford team in 2017, lost to TCU in the Alamo Bowl. They were 9-5 that year.
Okay.
Yeah, we can't have that. That doesn't make any sense. And that's why I don't know that the 16-team model is the right way to go, but it's inevitable, so we might as well just accept it's going to happen.
You would have had Utah as a 3-loss team.
They would have made it in
21 and 22.
21 and 22.
Yeah,
correct.
so there are and look, if you're I mean, put yourself in the spot of a fan right now. If the 2021 Utes win the Pac-12 championship like they did, and they get into the college football playoff, at that moment, you felt like they kind of could have beat anybody, right? Problem is that Ohio State team was also going to be in that same. But imagine, you remember how insane the first.
That felt like that could have been like, talent-wise, that could have been like a quarterfinal or a semifinal.
It was a slugfest, dude. It was one of the best football games I've ever watched in person. And a little bit of a flop the next year against
They just didn't have their horse. They didn't have their full.
Yeah, and they get injured, and it's insane to think, too, that Cam Rising came out of both of those games.
Right.
But think about where these teams would be. Think about where a team. This is why it matters to go to 16 teams. And that when we get caught up in the years that the SEC, by the way, would have had 3 times in the past 11 years, Ole Miss would have been in the last 4 in category, and that would mean that the SEC would have been a 7-bid league. JJ, the SEC in a 16-team playoff, a 5+11, they would get the automatic champion, and then out of the 11 at-large bids, 6 of them would have gone to the SEC based off of how the rankings ended up. Okay,
the rich get richer.
The problem is you would still have those rankings now the way it's set up. You would still have these things looking like this because people make, I don't know, mistakes is not it, but their personal biases get in the way. We heard that talking about it. You could say you don't have any biases, but you do. That's what Coach Franklin said at Penn State, right? We all pretend like we're not going to have biases, but we're going to. I don't like any of these things. We need to go back to the BCS model. Imagine a guy in 2024 or in 2025, like James Franklin just did, and he rolls out and goes, "We got to go back to the BCS model." We're licking our chops at a computer model now because we hate the idea of a bunch of muckety mucks sitting down at a conference table in Dallas-Fort Worth and going, I think, Mike, let's get your team in. You guys look pretty good this year. Thank you so much. Thanks for your consideration. You're going to join me on the golf course? That's how we think all this goes down.
Yeah.
Right? Pass the cigars out. Let's get 6 teams in from the Big Ten, and let's get 5 teams in this year from the SEC. You could legitimately have an absolute box out by these big conferences, but along with it is an added piece of your conference going in. maybe there are going to be seasons where, and they did these models, and the Big 12 would have had 3 teams in or even 4 teams in on a couple of occasions in the last 15 years.
Do you know who the last team out would have been last year if there was a 16-team playoff?
Who was it? Those Cougars.
The BYU Cougars.
Yeah.
Even though they beat SMU
And
in Dallas.
And SMU's wild because what did they end up on the ranking? They were like 12th or 13th? Oh, 11th. Okay.
They were the 11th seed. They were 10th in the rankings, 11th in seeding.
Where was Alabama?
11th
Yeah,
in
and
the
they would have been in.
rankings,
And they would have been in.
and were not seeded. Yep. Oh, they would have been firmly in.
Okay. Over the past 10 years, Notre Dame.
And without if it's the 5 and 11 and you don't get automatically seeded up, they would have been ahead of Arizona State.
Right. Okay. Here are the crazy numbers over the past 10 seasons.
But that was a 3-loss Alabama team.
10 seasons, Notre Dame would be among programs that would have qualified 7 times. The Big Ten would have led all of the Power 4 conferences with 53 overall bids. Okay.
Wow.
Over 10 years, JJ, how many does that equate to?
Well, when you
Over
take
a year.
the best teams from every conference in the country and glom them together in an 18-team mega mess,
Yep.
you're going to have those kind of stats. Whoopity-doo.
The SEC with 51. But the Big 12 and the ACC would have both averaged more than 2 bids per year. Do you see why the 4 + 4 + 2 + 2 + 1 model seems to make sense, not just from a perspective of somebody going, I want to carve out more spots for us. It has played out this way. The Big 12 has played to that level. The ACC has played to that level.
Even when Texas and Oklahoma were in the
Right. No, and for the vast majority of that time.
league. Yes.
The Big Ten and the SEC, however, taking 4 auto bids, that would be less than the average of what they actually achieved over every year as a conference. Now, the auto bids being 4, after that, it gets really insane when they get 3 more bids from the.
And they're going to hog all the wild cards, right?
Right, and so that's the part that should be
wild
concerning.
cards or at large, whatever you want to call those.
Yeah.
They're going to hog those.
So, who benefits the most from this? I think that the average sports or the average college football fan, if they're not a Big Ten or an SEC fan, or even if they are, because teams like Missouri, Missouri from what, 2 years ago? They would have definitely been in.
Yeah, 2023 Missouri would have been in.
They were very good. The Ole Miss teams over the past couple of years, they'd be getting in. And by the way, before you start to go, yeah, that's the old SEC power, we make fun of Missouri. We make fun of Ole Miss over the years, right?
Yeah.
Those are not considered your quote unquote powers. What I'm saying is that we think that this is just going to benefit the SEC overall big. What it is it's benefiting teams in the SEC who would normally not get a shot because they've played well enough. You can't discount the fact that they go through a gauntlet playing in the SEC. Now
here's the problem.
They
with that,
subtract the game and they play a stupid game in November,
did
that's a little bit of
Indiana
cheating.
go through a gauntlet in the Big Ten last year?
No.
You get so because these conferences are so large, the schedules are not great. They're not what they used to be. They aren't the gauntlet that everyone brags them up to be. They're just not.
Right.
I mean, look at Alabama lost at Vanderbilt. So what is the point of what loss or what problem does one of these teams have that should eliminate them from the conversation? Just because they're in a conference means they get pushed forward? I don't understand that. Because Alabama should have been disqualified by losing to Vanderbilt for the first time in 6 years. That's not an elite team. And I get a one-off, but it wasn't it was a one loss. Now, Notre Dame had a bad loss to Southern Illinois early in the year, but it was their only loss, right? They bounced back from that. Alabama had 2 more losses. They didn't play in a conference championship game, so why do they deserve special treatment? Meanwhile, and this is not just us. This is not Homer Radio here. We've had multiple people on the show, and just in the last week that said BYU got screwed last year. Pete Futak just said it the other day.
Yeah.
John Wilner said BYU got jobbed. They beat SMU. They should have been ranked higher than Alabama in a college football playoff. I'm not saying they should have been in it.
It was about when they lost it. Unfortunately, it's about the timing of it. It was 2 in a row.
They should have been ranked
end.
higher than they were in that format, while teams like Alabama got the benefit of the doubt. That you're right. It was the timing of the losses, not necessarily
because BYU loses those 2 games at the beginning of the year and then rattles off a bunch of wins.
They're red hot. Maybe they climb their way back up.
I could see that being like a.
But again, that's why people like Joe Klatt want to take the committee out of it because that was the committee's choice, right? The committee dropped BYU late at the end of the year when you should have been taking stock of the entire resume.
Right.
And if you do go strictly off of analytics, I'm sure they would have favored BYU in that scenario because a road win at SMU would have had a lot more weight than it did in the eyes of the committee, who had forgotten about it because it was in week 2.
12 of the Big Ten's 18 programs would have qualified at least once. Okay, imagine if 11 of the 16 teams of the Big 12 were to qualify over in that 10-year span. 14 of the SEC 16 programs would have gotten in at least once. Vandy and Arkansas would have been the only ones that didn't make it. You know what that means? But like I said, when I say the ones that are going to benefit the most from it, don't just read this as a conference situation. Read it as if you are as good as Kentucky on any given year, when Kentucky's having a decent year, you have a shot of being in that thing. Kentucky would have gotten in 4 times in the past 11 years.
In the college football playoff?
Yes. Okay?
Gross.
I know. But 14.
That tells me 16's too many.
Okay? 14 of the SEC 16 teams but no, it's not too many. What it tells you is because 16.
At what point does it become so watered down, Alex, that it's not as interesting?
It's not about watered down. How is 16? How is that watered down? 16 is not watered down. What it is those even 2 extra bids, if they were to go from 14 to 16, that is going to be the difference for a team like Utah and BYU one season to get in the playoff. Right?
I want to believe that, but I think we all know who it would be instead.
We think that, but I'm just saying,
it would be a Big Ten or an SEC team that's like 6th in the SEC or 7th.
Over the years of looking at it, there were a handful of years that out of the it was actually an 11-year study. The 11-year study that they did, 4 of the years, 4 teams got in from the Big 12. Look, and so you take away that 16th bid. I don't know which ones are the last 4 in or the last one in.
In a 16-team playoff last year, South Carolina gets in.
I'm okay with that. That was a good team.
What was their best win?
When they almost beat Alabama.
Exactly.
Anyway, what I'm saying is you need those extra 2 bids because it does ultimately give a chance for you to have a conversation.
Akron.
To have when Alabama has a bad year and they're just on the edge there, and they get picked over you, Utah fan, and you go, I can't believe we just got jobbed, or the other way around. And I know you think to yourself, it'll never happen like that. Alabama will always get the benefit of the doubt. Not necessarily. As it's looked in these, if you go through the rankings. Now, would their rankings change knowing that the number 16 means more now? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Would it change? Because you just kind of willy-nilly put rankings in there between 10 and 20. You don't really care. You're like the mushy middle of that, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, and you mix up a couple of those two. No one cares at the end of the year when those teams don't get into the playoff because it doesn't matter.
It's like the NCAA tournament in basketball.
But that number 13, 14, 15, 16, those last 4 in, we're going to obsess over. And I can't freaking wait, man. I want it to be the addition of those extra teams. And don't keep it at 12. Don't even go to 14. Because despite the fact that a lot of years, out of those 2 extra bids or those 4 extra bids they're going to do, you're going to see an extra Big Ten team and an extra SEC team in, or even maybe 2 SEC teams and 1 Big Ten team, and then only 1 from the Big 12 gets in. That 1 in the Big 12 means something to you because it might be Utah that year, it might be BYU.
No, I'm too pessimistic to believe it. Because what would have happened last year? BYU would have been the last team out.
It would have been the last team out. Now,
of course. And
fine.
Iowa State, too, by the way.
Let me propose a new...
Iowa State was 1 spot below BYU.
I want to propose a new deal. A new way to do this. I want to get a bunch of fat old writers in a room and then go, okay, guys, tell us who the national champion is. I'm going to pass this piece of paper around. I'll shut the door.
We get free lunch, right?
And then across the country, in a different room, a bunch of other fat writers or fat coaches get together and go, hey, who should the champion be? I don't know. And that's a different one from the fat writers across the country. What do? They get together and go, well, let's just call them co-champs. I'm going to tell you how stupid. Think about Miami and Washington, their co-championship of 1991 or whatever it is.
Worked pretty well for BYU in 1984.
1984 was different because I think that overall people still recognize that BYU kind of tips that scale.
Nobody believes that. And of course, fat writers that do a great job with the Baseball Hall of Fame, by the way.
You know what?
Yeah.
Let's go after those guys.
More committees with fat writers. That's exactly what we need to solve the world's problems.
Terrible. Hey,
inflation? Let's get a bunch of fat baseball writers together.
Our apologies for all the fat writers out there. We're just fat radio hosts that
yeah.
Hey,
we're in the same room with you guys. Don't worry.
Well,
we're one of you.
No, I would own up to it if I freaking blew it. Then gave out co-championships. What do? They did the AP and they did the coaches poll.
You remember the old UPI?
Yeah, the UPI.
United Press International.
Get out of here.
No longer exists.
Get Reuters in there. Give them a national championship.
Reuters.
Who got the what?
UCF. That's how they got their championship.
What championship did?
Reuters gave us the title.
Okay,
Utah won the Reuters championship in 2008.
What national championship did UCF get in football? I don't even know what it was. Recognized as. Here we go.
You should ask ChatGPT to make UCF the national champion.
Oh, they will. Let me see here. Yeah, eventually, the NCAA acknowledged UCF's claim, adding them to the official record book as co-national champion, but as a, as a wink, kind of deal. Because it was like, some. I think there's like a random one that Utah got the national championship too back in like 08 or whatever.
2008, it was almost kind of a similar deal as UCF.
Right, but it was like 10 years later, the computers have spit it out. Utah was a national champion, everybody. And everyone goes, well, too little, too late. But we'll take it.
Yeah, they were considered a national champion by 2 NCAA-designated major selectors.
Gross. Why do you have more than one major selector of a national freaking championship? This is why you suck, NCAA. All right. We'll take a break. We'll come back. Zac Blair is going to join us next. PGA Golfer. He's playing at the U.S. Open at Oakmont in Pennsylvania this week. Qualified, sneaking in after a qualifier in Ohio. We're going to ask Zac Blair about the road to this year's U.S. Open. He had a good U.S. Open last year, made the cut, made it into that last couple of days. We'll ask kind of what he thinks his odds this year are and what the rest of the field looks like as well at Oakmont. Stay with us. 97.5 EKSL Sports Zone.
Home for the best coverage of the Jazz, Utes, and Cougars is right here on The Zone. This is JJ and Alex, presented by G2G Bars on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
All right, everybody, welcome back. JJ and Alex, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Alex Kirry here, Jeremiah Jensen to my right. It is another week of another major here on the PGA Tour. Golf's third major of the year already so far. Can you believe that? And we'll have the Open Championship, which, of course, will be the last of the majors now that they've moved the PGA Championship up. I like this format better. It feels like we don't have to wait as much time between all the majors. It's been a quick season so far. It's felt insanely fast. And if you've been following any of it, of course, one of the names that you'll recognize is a name that played golf at BYU for a stretch of 4 years. Also, of course, on the PGA Tour since 2015, he's played in a lot of tournaments, and he's played not just in U.S. Opens. This is his fourth. Zac Blair joins us on the program right now. Zac, congratulations on making the qualifier and getting it done. How's Oakmont look so far? How's that rough treating you?
Yeah, it's good. It's good out here right now, playing a few holes, and pretty primed, I think, for to be in really good shape on Thursday.
One of the first things I got to ask you about is you're about to go viral because you just did something today. What 122? It's a 122-yard putt in U.S. Open practice. You nailed it. Take us through that. What was that about?
Yeah, I was out here playing with Bryson, and he hit a drive, way down there, and I just kind of jokingly said, I feel like we could putt it from here. And, took the putter out, actually hit a pretty good one down there. It looked like it was going in for a while. So just kind of, lucky that it all happened or whatever, but it was pretty nice.
We're just going to take that as a sign of things to come this week? A little good luck charm there?
I hope so. Yeah, that'd be great. I'll take it.
That is, would you actually attempt that now that you know that you can sink a 122-footer? Would you attempt it on number one at Oakmont during the actual tournament?
Honestly, if you were there for some reason, like if you hit it in a bunker or the rough and had to chip out from there, it's not like an outrageous play. I mean, it was blowing downwind so hard that, it it was kind of like really tough to stop a ball. So it was more just basically trying to see like how far will this continue to roll, because I didn't even really hit it that hard. It was a pretty normal, long putt stroke. I think we all kind of walked down to the green going like, I don't think it's actually like that outrageous of a play.
I mean, if it gets you within 6 feet, might as well.
Seriously, yeah.
Well, we're so thrilled that you're there and you get this opportunity, but you had to earn it. You had to fight and claw and scratch. Take us through that process of what it was like to get this spot and get this opportunity.
Yeah, I did the Monday qualifier at Springfield a couple of weeks ago. I've got through there a couple of times. It's a course I'm pretty familiar with and have had some success at, but you obviously still have to go kind of execute and do it when it matters every year. Kind of was right there. Basically the whole 36 holes was, within one or two of leading and making the cut or, making the top four. Kind of struggled a little bit towards the back nine of the second round. But birdied my, 35th hole to get to 4 under to get into the playoff. And then, made a big putt on the first playoff hole, which kind of kept me alive, and then kind of screwed up a couple of the next few, and then hit a really good shot on the fourth playoff hole and got my spot, which was great.
As you kind of look and see across your career in these last few years you've been playing really, really good golf. How the grind of doing this week in and week out, I think we look and we see the guys, and you tend to talk about the top 30 quite often, and the top 10 and the top, 3 really sometimes when you get to these tournaments. How insane is it, the type of run that a guy like Scottie Scheffler's having, and to be able to keep that consistency, not just like to win these tournaments, but to do it so often, and not just to be winning them, but to be at the very top of the leaderboard, it seems like week in and week out. Explain what that's like for people who are listening.
I think it just goes to show just kind of like what a generational talent he is. I think when you have somebody like we all watched Tiger, and it was just kind of like, oh my gosh, he's so much better than everybody else basically. And he went on that run for whatever it was, 15 years or something like that, where it's hard to compare anybody to that. But I certainly think that if there's anyone that we've seen that can be that, it's Scottie's kind of showing that, he's so good and so consistent and wins these tournaments and then goes out and, wins regular events right after. He's in it to win it. And I think he's just so consistent of a ball striker. And then he's obviously kind of found something with the putter the last few years. But I mean, I still remember a couple of years ago, he had no wins, and everybody was kind of like, will he ever win? And then he wins the Phoenix Open, and then all of a sudden now, I don't know how many wins he has, but I mean, it's got to be close to 20, and he's got 3 or 4 majors or whatever it is. So, I mean, I don't think he's going anywhere. He's still obviously really young, and I think when you excel at the things he excels at, that kind of carries week in and week out, and he doesn't really need anything to go his way in terms of the course setup or the style of place it is. It's just, he's a really, really good ball striker. He hits it far enough, drives it good, can putt good. And I think he's like an elite chipper of the ball, like chipper and pitcher around the green. So when you're one of the best in the world at like hitting irons and chipping and putting, like chipping around the greens, it's a pretty good combo.
This is your 4th U.S. Open. What makes the U.S. Open different from the other majors or any other stop on the PGA Tour?
I mean, you'll see this week, I think guys kind of getting their teeth kicked in a bit out here. So, there's a pretty big differential in hitting an okay shot that doesn't turn out at a week like this versus, your standard, virtually every PGA Tour stop. The style of course they are, and just the way they're set up is just much different than, there's not a ton of places week in and week out that are like oh my gosh, this is dead. How do I make bogey from here?
Yeah.
And, you're going to see that kind of on every single hole, basically, for 4 days out here. So I think it's something that, honestly, I think the guys like, especially if you're really good. I think there's such you can separate if you actually do the right stuff and have a solid week or a solid game plan and kind of execute, where it's not quite as easy to do that. I don't know, you saw the week last week up in Canada. There was one point at Sunday where there was 15 or 16 people within one shot of the lead. It's like, that's not going to happen on Sunday like out here.
Well, when you break it all down, you're just a guy whose family lets him go out on Father's Day to play golf on a Sunday. That's right. I think it's cool though. I was looking at some of the pictures, and you're out there, and you got the kids out there. It seems like the PGA Tour and just really golf in general has been so good about being like, bring your freaking family out. Like, maybe it's because I follow you guys on your social media stuff, and I just kind of look around and see where people are at, and I go, oh yeah, it's okay to have your family with you. It's okay to have them walking around with you. That must be a big part of it. And do they say, hey, we encourage you guys, bring your families around for these practice rounds again? How do we be a part of this thing?
I mean, I don't know if they encourage it. I'm like, hey, I want my family around.
I'm doing it anyway.
If no one's ever told me I can't or anything like that, and I see other people do it from time to time, and I remember doing it with my dad. He played in a handful of PGA championships when I was growing up, and a bunch of other kind of state opens and everything, and he would always take me out to be, his caddy, air quotes, and it was like some of the best memories that I have in my entire life. So I've always just been like, if I could ever do that for my kids, it's a no-brainer. And, to see my two boys, at least, who are old enough to kind of understand that we're at a golf course and everything, be out there and just kind of running around and smiling and having fun. It's one of the coolest things for sure.
Zac Blair, he's participating in the U.S. Open. I noticed also, I see one shot of you hitting that 122-footer down the hill, and a drone followed it all the way down. I'm waiting to see the drone footage now. That's what I want to see. Somebody was smart enough to follow it with a drone to see that thing get within 6 or 8 feet, so I'm looking forward to it. We're pulling for you, as always. State of Utah always loves our own, and when they're playing at the highest level, it's always really fun to watch. Good luck. Get to Saturday, man, and then we'll see where we can go from there.
All right. I appreciate it.
Congrats, Zach. Thanks.
Zac Blair, everybody. Fremont High grad.
Yeah. BYU.
Cougs. And, look. Yeah, that's pretty bonkers to I want to emphasize he didn't make the putt. He's like all of us. He missed the putt. But it went 122 feet down the hill.
Yards,
down the hill.
On the fairway.
He putted down the hill. One of the weirdest things I remember happened with Zac Blair was, you remember when he got mad at one of these tournaments at himself, and he did this thing where he bonked his head with his putter, like not hard, but you can't make contact with the putter and a part of your body and then continue to play it, because then it's a non-conforming club. Because you could adjust the face of your club with your face. That's the fear.
Right.
Not that these guys, I mean, they could have it on the ground and I don't know what the difference is of hitting yourself in the head, but I remember they were like, he got disqualified for hitting himself in the head with his own putter and then continuing to use it, because then it was an illegal club. Gosh, golf rules. Come on, get weirder, would you?
It is one of the strangest sports when it comes to rules and things you can and cannot do.
Well, and then in the end, all it is just you enforcing yourself.
Right.
Or if you're Patrick Reed, people catching you on screen on TV.
Ooh.
And then sending it into... Did you notice this?
What a turd.
We should have asked Zac Blair about that. You glad Patrick Reed's on the Live Tour now? You don't have to hang out with him that often?
Would he spill the tea on the guys on the PGA Tour
cheater?
that aren't very well liked?
Oh, that cheater. All right. We'll take a break. We appreciate Zac Blair taking some extra time out of his already busy week. And, yeah, awesome for him to come on. We'll be chatting with Bob Casper next hour, and we'll ask him about how the rest of the field looks with this one as well. Every Wednesday, the KSL Sports Zone participates in our weekly Win Ticket Wednesday. Coming up tomorrow, you can win tickets to Jason Aldean on the Full Throttle Tour. Special guests Nate Smith, Raylan, and DJ Silver.
Not Siver. Silver.
Right. That's July 26th, coming up at the Utah First Credit Union Amphitheater. You can win tickets tomorrow, or you can just go to livenation.com and buy them for yourself.
DJ Siver, much less successful than DJ Silver.
Oh, my gosh. Am I in trouble for that? I didn't know. I didn't know what it was.
No one's in trouble.
My kids would probably, you call him DJ Siver, Dad. Weirdo. All right, we'll come back. I'm like, that's what it said. I'll read anything that's in front of me. I'm the Ron Burgundy of this show. All right? All right, we'll come back. We've got more to go around the corner. Let's get to a Would You Rather next. Stay here, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Listen, everybody! Real-life hypotheticals to get your brain churning. As JJ and Alex ask, would you rather?
Welcome back, everybody. JJ and Alex, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Thanks for being with us. Top of the hour. Going to go through some of the top commitments that the University of Utah has just gotten into their class of 2026. We'll be coming up at 4 o'clock. We'll jam about those. Good news for Utes fans is it looks like some of your key skill positions getting bolstered. Getting bolstered. What are you guys doing this week? I'm going to go get bolstered, dude. Woo!
Oh, man. I could really go for a bolster right now.
Bolstering.
Can you put that in a drink?
You can join Hans and Scotty on Thursday at RGS Exteriors, noon to 3, 4235 Farm Road in West Jordan. Go check it out. Okay. We were talking with Zac Blair, and that's really what it is. Honey, I have to go play golf this weekend. He's the only all these PGA.
Yeah, so I got this invite to Pennsylvania to play golf. You good if I go?
I've been like, I play golf, and I am in the category of total hack. And so when guys are like, I tell myself, I hate this game. It's stupid. And then I go, and I'm going to make another tee time. And I follow all these golf Instagram, accounts. And one of them is like, I mean, there's so many of them where guys will share. You know, when you get AI will sing your text messages, right? And so many guys sharing like, are you guys still golfing? Right, these texts. Yeah, we just made the turn. So you say there's more golf left? Oh yeah, at least 3 hours. It's like, okay, can you not do this next week? Sorry, it's happening. Guys neglecting their families across the board.
Yes, and their jobs.
Zac Blair and the rest of the guys who it is actually their job to play golf this coming weekend. We salute you. Okay, now. My best and worst, because I brought up about how, hey, it's Father's Day. And I saw the picture. He had his kid next to him during this practice round, kind of wandering around with him. And I thought, it's fun. Tony Finau, famously, his wife, documents all their kids coming on with him on all these trips.
And it's great. I think it's awesome.
Really cool.
There's not those shots of a guy when he wins it, like Scheffler holding his baby.
That's become a huge
Love
deal.
It.
Yeah. And I think that they make a huge mistake if they try to squash it.
Why would you not want to share that moment with your family?
And Tony Finau, people are like, I don't know how I'd be so distracted. How do you keep your headspace? He's like, no, that's how I keep it normally.
Yeah.
Is to be able to kind of have people around me when we can. Obviously, they have their stuff going on, but if it's the middle of the summer and Delta's flying you out or whatever it is, the partnerships that you have.
Yeah.
She rolled out all of his outfits for the week. They do the full, because they tell him, here's what you're wearing.
Yeah.
Every day, top to bottom. Small price to pay for getting a few $1 million a year from Nike. But I thought about it and I went, okay. So I'm going to look it up. I looked it up and I said, okay, we're going to do a Would You Rather list of things that you'd rather have as a father for Father's Day. Because they say we're the hardest to shop for, right?
It's true.
Because what do you get for the man who has everything in your life?
You can't buy peace and quiet. Can't get that at Walmart.
Right. But I think, JJ, you're probably like me too. Like, I don't look around and go, that'd be nice if somebody gave that to me. I get the stuff I want usually in that moment.
When I want it.
And
that's why
so
I work.
We're hard to it's hard. We're hard to shop for. Okay, so I'm gonna give you some options here. You ready? First of all, this is the list of the worst dad gifts: fishing gear, golf items, Hawaiian shirts, bow ties. This is all from 2025.
Apologies to Andy Reid, but the Hawaiian shirts have got to go.
And when people give bow ties and try to like start up a trend with their own dad, hey, wear this bow tie, Dad.
Don't.
It's not going to happen. Okay?
If you're older than 10, no bow tie. Sorry.
Cufflinks also made the list of worst gifts because who's got a French
Why do you
cut shirt
who
or whatever it
uses
is?
those?
I feel like Bob Kraft, is he still with us? Maybe Trump and Bob Kraft get together
You'll
and
find him at a massage parlor in
No.
Florida.
Stop it. Father's Day gift. Best dad merchandise, like the cups, the shirts, best dad. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's number 7 on the list. Socks are the 8th worst. Barbecue tools. I don't think that's a bad gift, by the way. Now, you might get too many. And then they said jewelry. I'm not really a jewelry guy, so I get it. Now, here are the things for 2025, JJ, that are the best, that are the top dad gifts. So I'm going to give you a would you rather, all right? The TheraFlow dual foot massage roller that you put on the ground and rub your feet across.
Not familiar with that. Don't know what that is.
Or the NetView Birdfly Smart Bird Feeder with camera.
Oh, bird feed. I'm a bird guy.
But with the camera.
Yeah, I'm in.
And it has an auto feeding thing where you see the bird show up and you go.
I'm all in on that. How much is that?
$110.
It's like getting a Ring doorbell. I'll take it.
Ring doorbell for your birds.
Yeah, that sounds like fun.
Okay. The meat,
you had me meat.
the bird, it doesn't kill the bird, by the way. You don't get to eat the bird. All right. The Birdify Smart Bird Feeder or the Meter Plus wireless meat thermometer with Bluetooth.
Ooh.
Have you've seen those? Those are just the ones that look like a nice a nice pen.
And to be able to follow it with your phone.
Mine are all corded. Yeah.
Yeah. No cord.
No cord.
Oh boy. I'm a bird guy, so I got to stick with the birds,
Okay,
but that's very tempting.
He's going with I'm a bird guy. Have you ever heard this guy say one thing about a bird? Never. One of those cool neck fans you put on and it blows the air in your face. You know the neck fan?
That feels like, look, I tried to lose weight for a reason, so I don't have to wear a fan around my neck. That sounds like a fat guy gift.
It is definitely
I don't need
one.
it this year.
No,
Thank you, Salt Lake City Fat
I feel
Loss.
like I need one right now, actually. 70 degrees in this thing. It feels like it's 104.
It is a little hot. It is warm in here, for sure.
The Chillomatic beverage cooler. It chills 1 can at a time. Okay? 1 can at a time.
I drink a lot of diet soda.
Okay.
So
keep that in your old in the glove box. Yeah.
Is it better than the bird thing?
Okay.
No.
Customize leather and embroidered Hedley and Bennett Essentials apron to wear around.
I'm not an apron person.
I'm not either. It's another
thanks.
thing I've got to put on. It's going to make me hot.
I don't need an apron.
I'm going to need that neck fan in about 2 seconds after that. What about, speaking of being a bird guy, the Knox Provision Standard Issue Waterproof Bird Watching Binoculars? Why are they so into bird watching this year, by the way, at the New York Times? So bird binoculars?
I don't need to see them that far away. I'm still going to go with the
Still
other bird
going to go
thing.
with the camera thing?
The camera things. That way I don't have to use the binoculars, right?
Good. The Purple brand Harmony pillow. Comes in at a cool $250, by the way, for a pillow. It better.
So that's one where you don't want to pay for your own money. You want to get it as a gift.
Yeah,
that pillow.
It'll replace the neck fan, I'm assuming.
Oh, man.
The neck pillow.
And you think pillows are very underrated. You got to have a good pillow. If you
I know.
have a bad pillow, you have a bad life.
My wife would call me and be like, I forgot my pillow. Like, overnight it to me, you know?
Oh, man. Oh, yeah, pillow.
She's one
Let's
of
go
those
with
people.
pillow.
Okay, pillow. Last one. So the Purple brand pillow or the Royal Gold nose hair trimmer for men for a cool $197.
$200 nose trimmer?
Yeah.
Hard pass. Pillow.
One of the ones that's on the list that I actually feel like getting for myself is one of those, the cast iron grill press.
Ooh.
Make those smash burgers.
I'd rather have that than the nose trimmer that costs $200.
Now, gold nose trimmer is a move.
Why do you need a $200 nose trimmer?
I'd put them in the kitchen so that my guests would be like, those aren't the Royal Gold Nose hair trimmers 2025 edition, are they? Oh, yeah, you happen to see them?
Why,
Sorry,
yes, they are.
I usually don't keep them out. Yeah, they're 24 karat.
Would you like to try them?
No, you can't share your nose trimmer with somebody. All right, let's take a break. We'll come back. We've got more to go around the corner. Stay right here with us. When we return, We're going to chat a little bit about what Utah's added to the 2026 class for that football room. And then Bob Casper is also going to join us next hour. So stay right here. 97.5 the KSL Sports Zone.